Let the sound of that fading gong take you deeper, deeper into the altar of the Holy Spirit found in our hearts and souls. Heavenly Father, Mother God, we ask that you join our hearts and our minds together now, two or more now being gathered as you've asked, with one intention, the remembrance of who we are. Father, Mother God, help us to see you, ourselves, and others. Help us to see our world the way you see it, not the way humans typically see it. Help us to see beyond the dualities, illnesses, wars, politics. This is not of interest to us. What is of interest is our return home to your consciousness. This is your intention from the beginning. We strayed, so help us to forgive ourselves for doing so, and help us to forgive each other, especially when we mirror to each other our own inner issues and triggers. God, bless us all with your presence, your peace, your joy, your love, and your abundance. Let us anchor this into our beings now and permanently, and let us pray it upon, bless it upon all our brothers and sisters on this planet. Then we can proclaim the kingdom of God, the consciousness of God is here now. And so it is.
By Paramahansa Yogananda. Realization that all power to think, speak, feel, and act comes from God, and that He is ever with us, inspiring and guiding us, brings us an instant freedom from nervousness. Flashes of divine joy will come with this realization. Sometimes a deep illumination will pervade one's being, banishing the very concept of fear. Like an ocean, the power of God sweeps in, surging through the heart in a cleansing flood, removing all obstructions of elusive doubt, nervousness, and fear. The delusion of matter, the consciousness of being only a mortal body, is overcome by contacting the sweet serenity of spirit, attainable by daily meditation. Then you know that the body is a bubble of energy in His cosmic sea. Thank you. Please join us in reading the mission statement. It can be found on the seat backs in front of you. The Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And so it is.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, folks online, for joining us. We welcome you and we appreciate your joining us. Can anyone share what topics you want me to cover today?
Greek gods and goddesses.
Meditation and needing rest.
What is it?
Meditation and needing rest.
Okay, one sec.
Isolation.
Okay.
Money and power.
Letting relationships fall away.
The direct path to self-realization.
One more over there.
Understanding another
Good. Yep. In the back? Yep. What is it? Nice. Wow. What a unique blend of things. I say that sometimes, but wow, this time, everything from dreams to Greek gods to, and thank you for that, by the way. I'm kidding. Greek gods, meditation, isolation, money, relations, understanding others, and Kermit. No, I'm kidding. The hermit path. Wow, wow. Okay. There's something extraordinary about knowing the difference between the horizontal subjects of life, which includes, money, politics, even seemingly spiritual things, books, materials. Something happens when we decide to wake up. There's sleeping humans who have no clue and no interest, seemingly, in awakening, growing, and so on. When you start to wake up, that's a dramatic shift. And it's like, I didn't even know how messy. It could have been ignorance, addiction, whatever. That's the old self. Gone. Bid it farewell. And one of you asked about ending relationships. That's a relationship most people don't think about the ending of. Most of us have been divorced or ended relationships, a partnership, or maybe just parting ways from family members and not talking to them. Those are the typical ending of relationships. Don't underestimate the value of ending a relationship with your old dysfunctional self. Bid it farewell. Just whatever that means to you. Ceremony, a prayer, but at some point to be able to say, I don't relate to that anymore. And please don't underestimate your growth. If you've grown just a little, look back at how you were and now and don't underestimate that and give thanks. Your ego's going to tempt you to underestimate it so that you don't continue waking up. When you say thank you, everything launches to another level. When you say, I can see changes I've made. I made them and I just kind of was going along. But when I look at the contrast, how I was 5 years ago to today, wow, stop and say thank you. Because what it does is it's not just another tiny step. Saying thank you means you launch to another level. Oh, is that making sense? Because you're having the courage to acknowledge, I have changed. And the ego is going to say, that's arrogant. That's egotistic to say, I've changed and I'm doing so much better and I give thanks. That's a lie. That it's arrogant. It's arrogant to underestimate your changes. And it's really ridiculous and self-hurtful to not own that you've made changes in your life. Why would you want to go that route? Yes, I've made changes. Thank God. Bid farewell to them. Whether it's photos of the past, whether it's, diary notes, what are you going to do? I might need those someday. Really? You need to know how many times you've been stoned? Let it go, burn it. It doesn't have a value. However, you might think it does, which means you still have an attachment to the old you. Now, I'm not telling you go home and make yourself, it has to feel right for you. But it is an amazing thing to know when it feels right to say goodbye to the past versus going through the motions and acting like, just pretending that you're making changes or you're grateful that you made changes. On the note of Greek gods, or in mythology, the gods, were they mythology? Mythology means right brain version of history versus history, which is left brain version of history. Right brain version of history is always more accurate and more complete. And the mythology, even the word, makes it sound like fables, and it isn't. So we have to be careful to interpret that word correctly. We have an ongoing mythology course we're doing 1 month per year, 1 day per month. That's next Sunday, by the way. But we started as oneness with God. We parted, we blasted like the Big Bang in the universe. We blasted away from oneness with God, and we became part of these original primordial forces that eventually fell further and became the gods of the cosmos. And some people will say, well, yeah, but that's fable, mythology. That's not in history. That's not in the Bible. It is in the Bible. It is in the Bible. Then those gods fell further and became demigods. And when I say gods, I don't mean we were, let's say there's a billion people that once were a billion gods. No, we were once collectives. So let's pretend there's a billion people, but only 100 gods. Those billion had to fit into those gods. Does that make sense? We were part of a collective that splintered off and splintered off and splintered off. So in a sense, we're all soulmates that we go home and become one with God again. But we were once part of the creator gods and manifested this whole universe. By the time we landed all the way, we went from gods to demigods, and from demigods to heroes, to mortals. And we sit around marveling at how amazing we are. I got a raise at work, man, because I deserved it. I did an empowerment blessing to myself in the mirror, and you deserve a raise, and I got a raise. And you think that's something. That's actually not much to brag about. You were once one with God. You were once a creator God, not individually, but collectively in groups. And that's why sometimes we have like soul groups, because the gods splintered into lesser gods and demigods and then we just ended up as mortals. It's even in the Bible that there's a point where gods screwed up so bad, they were told, now you have to become like a mortal and die like typical humans. You see? I mean, this is telling us you used to be so love-based and you splintered off. How far did I splinter? As far as your beliefs created you to splinter off. When you can still act like a god, and I don't mean arrogant, entitled. I'm talking about when you can feel supernatural, forgiving things that no person could imagine forgiving, and you pulled it off. When you have extra time to be of service. This is the funny thing, because the gods still have a connotation, and many of them did. As I'm checking in here, I'm really noticing as the other people fall further and further, I haven't fallen as far. So I would like them to start worshiping me because I remained higher than them. Which Enoch tells us ended up being their curse. Because when they tried to make people worship him, those gods ended up falling further into density, let's call it. It actually becomes like a fourth dimensional version of hell for them. These gods fell because they forgot this. When you're coming down in your gods, and aren't you wonderful, man, look at you, your god, demigod, heroes, and so on. Heroes in the stories of mythology, as you're coming all the way down, heroes were heroes because they were humane, not humans. They were humanitarians, those who cared about other people. So if you want to go home, this doesn't happen because of a date on the calendar. It's not like, I heard that in 2012, we're all going home. Really, you're still here. Fairly dysfunctional, for that matter. Are you any nicer? Do you give any more? Smiles, hugs, money, whatever you have, an abundance of, do you? That's the humanitarian. So technically, the greatest, now that we've all fallen to this level, the greatest thing you can do is act like a god again, but a good one, not a selfish one. So you don't just go from here to heaven. We fell gradually and we will ascend gradually, dimensionally speaking. And that ascension is amazingly not by how grandiose, not by how much you know the cosmos, like a God, creator God would. It's right down day-to-day behaviors. Actions of service will make you a god or goddess again. Strangely enough, because you will go from a human to humanitarian, which is someone who thinks beyond themselves. And when you stop thinking beyond your little self you become part of a greater we. And we is actually where we came from. We were once soul groups like gods, and we fell. To return to that, you have to think like a collective. Does that all make sense? It's really fascinating if you think about it. When you ask about things like ending relationships, all of these are like the phoenix, again, mythology, but all of these things are like the symbol of the phoenix. Ending a relationship of any kind, changing households, changing jobs, going through menopause, going through a dark night of the soul. We look at these things as though they're linear little things we do. What are you doing? Oh, I'm going through menopause. Oh, okay. And we just make it linear little conversations. There's deeper meaning to all of these things. Well, I'm just going through a lot this last couple of years. Get excited and go, oh, guess what? I thought my life just sucked. There's actually more to it. I'm going through the dark night of the soul. Yes, dark night of the soul. Dark night, soul. It's not like I'm having a bad day. This is, I am being raked through hell. And the people around you should say, sorry to hear that, but we're here. How can we help? They can't take it away from you. If you say, I'm going through the dark night, one of the areas that it's hitting me hardest is finances, they can hand you a $100 bill. It will not cure the dark night. You'll go, well, thank you. That's amazing. That's going to change my whole dark night of the soul experience. And you'll somehow drop it on the way to your car. Somebody who's not going through the dark night is going to find it. So these stories, these games of money and power, I'm so sorry for that people, politics, politicians, people in this world think in terms of money and power. And they are absolutely mentally ill, spiritually speaking. They are absolutely messed up when they get into money and power. They're so messed up that it causes them to grab onto whatever they can to find sanity, and it isn't going to help them. When you're in the dark night of the soul, things can't fix you. You can have a little bit of a crutch now. They gave you a crutch to walk, but they can't fix your legs when you're in the dark night, figuratively, metaphorically. They can't carry you per se. If you're going through the dark night, you've lost a loved one and it's hitting you, they can't bring back your loved one per se. You've got to walk through it. And it's the same. People into money and power are like in a perpetual dark night. They may not seem like it because they have so much money to distract them. But they're just like a person with an addiction. It could be power. It could be winning an election. It's just another drink. Forgive them. They know not what they do. And God bless them in the Texas sense. God bless their little soul. Because they are in a position where there's so much stimulus, money and power, that they almost now can never find themselves again because there's so much distraction, like any form of addiction, and they have an addiction. But where does addiction come from? The lack of oneself, knowing oneself, so you reach out and compensate elsewhere. That's what they're doing. Forgive them, they know not what they do. But don't get caught up in the hating them, loving them syndrome, because then you're making the them that they think they are real. And then it's just a false image, and you'll be dragged down with them. Just love. Just send them love. There's pros and cons for the positions such people are in. A lot of the power people remember that once we were all gods, and they're trying to be there again, running the world like dictators. And I'm talking about all of them, not one side of them. All of them. Some of them are more overtly dictators, and some are covertly. Some are aggressive, the others are just passive aggressive. But they're all messed up either way. Is that what you want your mind on? Is that what you want your consciousness on? One of you asked about a more direct path home. The direct path home starts with humility and being of service to others. Not if I can gather enough power, I can make things go my way. That doesn't work. There are characters in the Bible and characters in history characters in the Bible ranging, oh my God, from the time of Solomon to Alexander the Great and so on, where these are beautiful, even King David, these are beautiful souls who loved God in their own unique way. They loved God and wanted to bring heaven to earth. They had these brilliant visions. If only we could. So Alexander, he didn't conquer. He's not called a conqueror technically. Only ignorant people would call him that. He wasn't a conqueror. He was a uniter. So he took other countries and united them, getting them to get along. Let's have one language that we can all see. He created the Alexandrian library. Let's have information anybody can study, no matter how rich or poor. He really captured all of this. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you try to fix this world, you're still assuming there is a world. Instead of saying, how does God see this? God doesn't say, if we just had one more hospital, everything would be fine. God's going, there's a glory to all of it you can't see when you're focused on a thing, whether it's an Alexandrian library or an election you want to win or money you want to make. You're still on things. There's another way of looking at this. There's another way of seeing it all, and that's from a more divine perspective. You asked about understanding others, and this is how it happens. It's learning to see the content, not the form of things. Look at the deeper meaning of things. A relationship ends. You're going into the dark night. These are meaningful. To one person, I lost a relationship. Is it really lost? It's okay. I understand that it hurts and it feels like I lost a loved one. And they're like, what do you mean lost? I'm still standing right here. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. And the love you've ever felt for anyone should last forever. Honestly, if it's real love. When some of us go, yeah, I was in love, but I fell out of love, and then it can't have ever been real love. You were in a mood. That's all. I was in a mood to love someone, and now I'm not in the mood to love them. They put me out of the mood. Wow, how is that not like a really shallow lifestyle? You just sit here and go by whatever's, you like live a life of like whack-a-mole, poof, 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 and you just go by whatever, mallet hits you on the head and changes your, constructs for now. In the real sense, this is so hilarious. I can see through it all. And I'm calling upon a guidance that is beyond my own type of understanding. Of myself, I'm nothing. But when I surrender to the Divine Mother, she guides me, she teaches me. I can learn and do anything. Now I'm returning to becoming like a supernatural human. The concept, supernatural, extraordinary human being, means you're ordinary but extraordinary, supernatural. And it's not one skill, like you're a psychic or you're a healer. I'm talking about a consciousness. Think beyond being just a mortal. Realize you have a level of patience that most mortals don't have, if you access it. You have an ability to know things that the average person doesn't know. You can have things just come to you, awarenesses, and it's really beautiful, but we're going in that direction. Mankind has to learn to access their higher supernatural, fifth dimensional self. But you can't if you're stuck looking at 3D things. You can't become fifth dimensional if you walk around complaining about the 3D elections and 3D opinions. I mean, go ahead and do it. And now you're just a 3D person doing 3D things and complaining about 3D events. And that's fine, but you're 3D. Own it. Don't say, I'm so fifth dimensional in the way I hate people. That doesn't make any sense. I'm wanting to make sure I'm honoring the requests you guys are making and tying them together as well. The world can be so heavy that it does make us want to isolate, hermit away ourselves. And there's some pros to that, which is it's a symbol of going within. when you isolate, when you meditate. Those are all symbols of going within. But how do you feel when you do? Are you comfortable going within? You find irritations. You find yourself anxious. You find yourself impatient. You find yourself bored when you meditate or when you isolate for a day, a week, a month, fasting or doing whatever you're doing. When you go within, be quiet. Because the last time we experienced a silence, it was the moment we started separating from God. And what came after the silence? The Big Bang, which is a fierce explosion of terror. So last time we got still, it was when we said, here we are part of God, let's be still and imagine that we're not. And then the not manifested. Chaos. And we've been living the chaos ever since. If you want to reverse it, you've got to own the chaos that you create every day in your life. You got to bring it back to the silence that originally blew into something. And on the other side of that silence is the presence of God. So we have to reverse the things that we put into motion. There's this idea of a higher self. Higher ground is not just an incredibly great Stevie Wonder song. Higher ground means practice whatever your questions here, even lucid dreaming. How do I nurture that more? Get used to moving to a higher perspective of everything. Soar above your problems. Ask God to help you see things differently, and that's a metaphor of rising to higher levels. It's been promoted out there as a cool thing that happens. You may have heard of this. A crow can only ascend so high, and when it tries to ascend high enough, it gets tired and, cannot handle flying any higher. So often it's been known to happen where a crow will actually find a bird that can soar higher. A crow will land on the back of an eagle. The eagle will do the work, and the crow will just hang out and get a ride. Yeah. And it's an incredible thing. And there's going to be people that say, well, it hasn't been completely scientifically proven because there's no video. People said it, but it could have been a hallucination. And just anyway, crows are known to have done that. And it's hilarious. But the crow in us, it's not about stealing enlightenment, but the crow in us is the part that says, I'm going to surrender. I can't do this on my own. And it relies on the eagle, a symbol of great spirit, to take you higher. We all have to learn to surrender that. And we see ourselves, we've talked a lot about triangles and pyramids lately using symbolism, but one reverse way of talking about a pyramid is technically, in one model, there's a pyramid. There's God and here's us in our dualistic world. Fine. We talked about taking that and doing it this way in relationships, personal relationships. Can't revisit that too much. What I'm saying is, another model of a triangle is you take this and take it this way, and it's a very sad scenario because it means all that God is, I've become nothing but the tip down here, this mortal. God's going, I am this, and we're going, yeah, but this is it for us. God's going, all that I am, you are. And we're like, uh-huh. So you might remember that Crowded House song from the 80s. There's freedom within, there's freedom without. Try to catch a deluge in a paper. You remember that? Hey now. Don't dream it's over, right? So try to catch a deluge in a paper cup. So here I am, God. I'm learning to change my life. I'm waking up on the path. I used to really be messed up. I'm ready. And God's going, okay, here I am. Would you like to experience? Yes, I want your will. I want your consciousness in me now. And you hold a thimble. And it comes pouring down, and that's all you've got. Thanks, God. That's like it manifests as a 25-cent raise at work. And God's going, this is amazing, you people. I'm this. You ask me to pour my presence into your life, and you hold out a thimble or a little pixie cup at best. And we call that, wow, that's really amazing. And it is compared to a thimble. Or you could really be messed up and just go, try to catch it on the tip of your tongue or whatever. You could be that messed up. But it's an amazing thing to say, part of me wants to hold out a thimble so that I don't miss out instead of trying to catch them with my tongue like snowflakes. I'm going to throw the thimble aside. That is not your will. Your will is that I be you. So the symbol of God, the pyramid this wide, pouring down into this tiny little person that I think I am. That's unworthiness. Those are judgments. You don't just end up the tip of an inverted triangle. You don't just accidentally end up there. And your parents didn't make you, although they can enforce that you're there if they were dysfunctional. But nobody can make you be this. This is our collective belief systems. Even if your parents were totally messed up and they treated you a certain way, you can only be this if you believed them. There's a part of us that say, and no. Well, you are part of our family, and we do have alcoholism. We do have certain illnesses get passed down. No, you don't actually have to believe those things. And so this starts to broaden and become a bowl. A little cup maybe, but then eventually a bowl, and then a larger basin. So the model goes from being an inverted pyramid to almost like a column of light, of God's presence. Wow, there's God and there's no difference, which is Jesus saying, all that God is, I am. It's like Jesus saying, when you see me, you see God. That's very cool. That's a model where you took the pyramid and you split the bottom open to be like a column. Excellent. So I went from God's here and I'm here, but broken and God wide and me broken, to all of a sudden I'm standing in the light of God more. I live the life of God. Isn't that a great model? And then the column will eventually become a circle where there's not a higher part and a lower part. And that's, you cannot tell, it's oneness. You can't tell it apart. You go from this to a column that's perfect, beautiful model, but that's halfway home. And you got to go halfway before you go all the way home. So we've got to learn to live in a state of surrender, in a state of I don't know. Even though the arrogant one thinks it knows which politician is right, which thing to vote for. What do they call those little things? Propositions? Yeah, is that it? Little numbers at the end of them, and you have to vote, all the time. And do you vote this in or out? Or politicians. That whole world. You can get into that stuff, and then it takes the triangle and puts you back down to this. The more you think you know, the more you're actually becoming just this little tip that knows barely anything. This is like at best a survivor in the world. Survival of the fittest. It's a very sad thing to be this. And the more you think you know, the more you define yourself as not knowing anything. So there's a part of us that doesn't even know we're the tip of that. And we live, but you're still in the tip, but you're unconscious. Then all of a sudden we start to say, no, I want to know who I am. I want to wake up a bit. Good for you. You've become the tip of an inverted pyramid. That's better than where you were. And the more that tip goes, wow, I'm here and look at me. And now I've got degrees and I made it through this and I graduated that. I'm starting little identity. Isn't that cute? Then, and it's not from you developing, it's the surrendering is what broadens that pyramid. I don't know anything, but God does. And if I invite God in, I have no limits. Now you're going from mortal to demigod, hero. Hero first, the hero, you pull yourself out of where you've been. Good job. You're your own hero now, or heroine. And you'll become like a demigod, and you start to feel that way. And it's going to be told to you that sounds arrogant. But I'd never said, put it on your business cards. Window cleaner and demigod. I never said to boast it. I'm talking about living it. When people are struggling and you're still able to smile, you're actually being like a demigod, a hero at least. And I'm not saying don't feel pain. But when you are in pain and you own it as your lesson, that's a demigod or hero. Humans don't do that. Humans project and blame, which is why they're this at best. They go, I'm going to look at a broader perspective. I'm going to open my mind to other ideas. See, that's not a mortal. Mortals live in terror, even though they might look like grandiosity and certifications and licenses. They live in terror. Can you say there's more? Can you believe beyond that? Can you lose a limb and still survive and find a way to be whole, like some people have proven? Some of us would crumple seemingly under that. Find your way to be a great example of others. Mainly, help people feel like they have value. You've heard me say that many times. You don't have to sit there, okay, how do I do technique? And I got to chant and I got to get myself ready. Sun salutation because I got to go and meet a lot of weirdos today. So this is how I'm going to raise my vibration. No, it's learning to not think that there's a lot of weirdos. Just do whatever's in front of you. And I've done strange things that some people would just go, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But it's still beautiful. I remember a gal who obsessively paranoid about germs. And I remember we, after a workshop, a handful, like 6 of us or so, we went to get something to eat at a restaurant. And you could just tell, she sits there so nervous. You're at a restaurant, and I wonder if they sterilize this and that. And, she was like that. Is this clean enough? And get an extra napkin and look at your spoon. And she was like that. So I personally, I'm not like germaphobe or anything like that, but I don't, most foods I'm not interested in, so it's a funny little thing. So I'm not sitting at the table like I just live in the gutters and am some really gruesome kind of, I'm fairly clean and so on. This girl was obsessive, and I'm not the type that is going to eat, you're having meats, and I'm not going to, oh, may I have some? I don't really pick at other people's plates, because that's food I'm not interested in. But she's sitting there phobic, and I'm sitting there disinterested in the meal. But the greater good. She starts doing this thing about, I think the table needs wiped, and I can see, grease and crumbs and this and that. What do? Feed that, and we should order gloves. Again, I'm exaggerating because I'm not really phobic like that. But the fact is, she started obsessing so much. I went, you know what we ought to do? We ought to get this table clean. She's going, exactly. That's what I've been trying to say. And I went, I just licked the damn table. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It was at a Chili's in South Florida. I did. And people that knew me, they're like, he doesn't eat like chicken, and I don't. But yet he doesn't know what's on that table. Deep down I knew that whatever nuclear waste they used to clean tables probably neutralized it all anyway. No. But the point is, isn't it amazing to let people know? And she said it changed everything for her. Not only that I did that and still somehow survived, but that I did that for her. That I would take on the potential skeevy, as we sometimes call it, contents of a table that probably chicken eaters have sat at, and their grease is everywhere. And then comes some ammonia stuff to mix with the chicken grease. And I'm like, oh. Because nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Right? And Jesus says in A Course in Miracles. Why is that funny? Oh, you think it's a strange segue. No, it'll make sense. If you just don't interrupt me, it'll eventually make sense. Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, when someone asks something extreme, do it to prove to them that it doesn't matter. He does add, never something that would harm yourself or others, which I call what you can afford to do. I can afford to do that. See, I can afford to do that. Why? First of all, because you're valuable. You mean a lot to me. I don't even know the person well, but you mean a lot to me. And I want to show you that you mean a lot, that you matter. This thing that's got you scared means nothing. Now, if it would have been something that would have been hurtful to that other person or myself, financially, energetically, emotionally, then no, that's a rescuer that goes too far. But I did. I did that. There was shock. There was a bit of laughter and so on. Let people know that the things that scare them don't really have power over them. You see? Don't overly prove, but do it as a graceful thing. Do it as a miraculous thing, a gentle thing generally. It doesn't always have to be externally, intense for people, but it doesn't hurt to also do something that helps people laugh. That it's okay. I got a new car once, and I don't even think I had it for weeks. And in a parking lot, somebody, bumped into me. There's a split second of, oh my God, the car and it's new. And immediately I had to go into, it's okay. I didn't even get out and see how much damage. Just, it's fine, we're good. And people do. I remember a daughter of mine was moved into a city and near a college, and some college kids, partying in the evening, ran into her car. She's like, Dad, can you, do this and that? Can you get I got an estimate, called the kid who's like, hi, hello, sir. I'm so sorry. What am I going to say? Hell is coming your way, son. I can't do that. I'm going to charge you. We're going to raise it, jack up the estimate. I can't do that. There's a human being I could tell was terrified. And I said, the quote was a couple $1,000. Okay, well, I can probably pay $50, listen, this is not Tartarus. I'm not Hades. We're not in hell. I don't want you to enslave yourself over this. I can't do that. What I said was, the quote, a couple grand, waiting for the guidance, and, God's like, me, I know, so we know each other, and God's like, why even ask? You know what you're going to do. Yeah, So I said, but don't worry about it, man. Just drive carefully. The kid starts crying, and he's such relief. Damn it, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Not adding grief to people. Somehow work miracles. Then you return a hero, a demigod, a god goddess, and home. You want to ascend, act more like an ascended self. Act more like God. How? It's all about the attire. No, it isn't. It's all about, you got to change your name to, Ahmed Rod Solar Being, and move to Sedona. Listen, when you go to the DMV, they're not going to say, okay, Ahmed Solar Ra, it'll be like, okay, Fred. It's such a funny thing. You can't just change your name and think you're different. You have to become the change you want to see in the world. And it's gentleness, man, and it's helpfulness. God, I've seen this so many times in my life. Not saying these to brag, but to give examples of day-to-day stuff. I remember wearing, it was so cool. I was ready. I'm a keynote speaker at a conference. And I loved the fact that white pants, a white something or other shirt with a shawl of, it just feels so stinking pure Christy. And I'm ready, and I get the ride, taking me to the venue, can't wait till I arrive. No, I'm kidding, but I don't, think grandiose like that. But my point is, yes, I'm all in white, and it feels really great. And we get there, and there's somebody whose car is stuck in the mud. What am I going to say? I'd like to help, but I'm just too pure. Nope. Out of the car, push, and the mud's going right up my body. It was just like amazing. just right, riddling me with, and those spots never came out of those pants. Never. No matter how much bleach and whatever else, or even cleaning fluid from a Chili's table, nothing took the spots out. And if I ever saw the pants again, you could still see, what I remembered wasn't like, oh, that's terrible. What I remembered was being helpful. Every way we can. But don't do it the way I do it, nor the person sitting next to you. You have to find out what you can afford. I just love generally saying, I can afford a lot. Whether it means this or this. If you had a child and there was some famine going on, and you had a child, any decency in you knows that you'll maybe take a morsel at best, but you're going to feed the child, right? These are children of God, and they need help. So you give what you can. You give a server extra. And I'm not saying you do what you can afford. But when I give and they say, what, are you sure? I say, well, why not? Don't you deserve it? I plant that teaching seed. I never tell them, I'm Michael Mirdad. Come see us at the Global Center for Christ Consciousness so we can convert you. I never do anything like that. And never. People on planes, so who are you? Michael. Michael, yes. Michael, yeah, exactly. It's like doing the who's on first. They expect something more, but I just keep going back to Michael. And that's all they need to know. They don't need to know why Michael is this way. They don't need to know, because I don't want to do it as a sales pitch. I don't want anything attached to it that could be misunderstood. Do you understand what I mean by that? Just kindness. Just because people deserve it. And that makes them understand that they have value, which then takes them from that little point to something a bit wider. Really? I have value? But you don't know where I've been. I didn't ask. We're good. And if somebody says, let me tell you where I've been, okay. And they tell you, your face should stay the same. Like, not, that's not good. That's not good when they share their heart and soul with you and you show them reactions of judgment. Nope. Tell me anything. It's fine. And people will say to me, how can you listen to some of the really horrendous stories that go on in this world and survive? No, once in a blue moon, it adds up and becomes a little heavy. As a person, it does, I can feel it. But the reason most people get really overwhelmed hearing even just a little is because you haven't yet realized the end game. The end isn't in the trauma that people are telling you. The end is, and then where are you going with that? If you don't understand the end of the story, which is oneness with God, then you're going to panic hearing the little details along the way. So even when people are telling you current abuse of some kind, meet them there and then know where else you're taking them. Have a confidence that I know this is this, but we're going to get somewhere. Even a good doctor is going to be able to go, I know this hurts now, but my goal with you is that'll be gone. A counselor, right? A good counselor should say, I know you've gone through a lot, but we can work with that, right? A parent should be able to do that. So in a way, all I'm asking you to do is access your inner doctor, counselor, or parent. Hear what's going on and then know inside where we're going with this. I've said this metaphor many times, but it's kind of like putting one ear, eye, foot, arm, one hand in heaven and one here on earth. Kind of like saying, I'm going in. Connect, get your oasis, drinks down some waters of life and God connect. I'm going in. And do your day-to-day work. Do it on your own, you'll get burned out. Think amazing of yourself that you did the work, and you'll burn out. Something will go wrong with it. Keep it humble. Of myself, I do nothing. Of myself, I know nothing. That doesn't sound belittling the way it might. It isn't belittling the way it might sound. It's actually clearing the ego out of the way. I really am a good person, I being any of us. I can see that I really am a good person, and I'm grateful that I am. I know I could have gone a lot of different directions in my life, but instead I'm focusing on goodness. I'm really grateful. Now ramp it up more. And I mean, this was me throughout much of my life. I've made mistakes, have had a selfish moment here and there, but I just felt this way. I can remember, through most of my life. Simple little things. I remember a gal in middle school, I think 8th grade. And I remember these guys kind of giggling and whispering, and they're talking to this girl. This girl was like a model. She was beautiful, although middle school, she was considered very beautiful. And the guys are all like whispering. I'm like, what's going on? Her blouse had come unbuttoned, and you could see a bit from an angle. And the guys are all like, yeah, yeah. And they're all getting up there to get a glance. Yeah, so I walked up and I whispered in her ear. I said, your blouse is unbuttoned. She went, oh. And she was so grateful. It's so weird that I remember it to this day, the way she looked at me like she was being so respected. I'm not claiming to be perfect about these things. I'm just saying that's what we need in this world. To be taken care of with each other, not rescued, but held up, supported a bit. How can I help you today? And that helped end something else that was going a gross direction. So whether it's the dinner table at the restaurant, or whether it's this person's blouse, or whatever it might be, how can I be helpful today? A prayer. And unfortunately, this world loves to beat us up. It does. This is the ego version of the world. And every time you do something kind, you're actually literally and figuratively saying no to the ego's world, yes to God's world. And I don't mean heaven someday. I mean you lifted the veil and brought through higher dimensions right where you stand. See, angels are up here on that pyramid. Angels are up here in that column. Those are high frequency beings. Fantastic. They get to live like angels in an angelic realm. When you act like an angel in this world, man, everything is blown apart. You see what I mean by that? You're supposed to obey the rules. If you're an angel, act like one. If you're a human, not much is expected. Because you're a fallen mortal. You live in fear, and at best, you'll have an epiphany before the end of your life. Then you'll come back and have to be with the same people and hope for another tiny epiphany. When someone says, I'm going to act like these beings of higher realms while here, even the angels are like, you're kidding me. This person acts like us, and they're down in the trenches. Do something to shake things up a bit. Do something that's supernatural in terms of forgiveness and kindness. Take the hand of someone that's struggling, hug someone, all in a way that is the timing and everything is appropriate, but how can you be helpful? Through my life, time and again, people struggling with whatever, reaching out and asking for help and not knowing who I am, but giving them advice, giving them feedback. A couple of young men were talking this weekend, and I was there, and they were talking about relationships, so I threw in a couple brilliant seeds of suggestions for them, But how can you be helpful? And this has nothing to do with you stand at a podium on a Sunday or a workshop facilitator or an author. The more you think you're an author that is sort of above your readers, you've lost everything. You've missed everything. I don't care how brilliant your book is. When you're an author who's above the people you're writing for, I'm not interested in anything in the book. I'm not going to be excessively judgmental. I'm not saying I'm just saying I lose something in me. I lose interest. Show me how you can get right in there and participate at that level. It's an amazing thing. Broken humans become humane and humanitarian. And now they're heroes in the trenches, but also energetically, you're going to a higher level of consciousness. When you act like this, you might not even need to come back because you don't have the same 3D lessons. You've thought beyond 3D, so you're no longer 3D. And you get all ready and you're dressed up for your next lifetime. They go, where are you going? Oh, I was just preparing. It's about that time. I should be going back. They'll say, back where? Earth. For what? Lessons. You already started acting in a higher consciousness. You're allowed to live in the higher consciousness now. And some of us will go, boy, doesn't that sound good? But I still think I'm going to go in and try to help. And you've heard me say that's like a bodhisattva. It's greater than being a Buddha who awakens and I'm done here. A bodhisattva is going, yeah, I'm awake, but I'm still going back to lick tables at Chili's or whatever it might be. There's a point where I don't feel any separation anymore. Again, I being any of us. It doesn't feel like it's there. How can you be holding on to your past and make that affirmation? All the stuff of the past. I'm not minimizing the hurt that comes from ending relationships, as one of you put it. That can be very deep and hurtful. When I had a relationship end during my first dark night of the soul, it's the only time in my life when I prayed to die. And it was relationship. I didn't understand how, and it was the dark night. I didn't understand how everything could have turned so dark. How a relationship could have ended that I didn't get into it for that. I was a kid when I got into it and I was there for years. But coming to an end, it was so mind-boggling. When you go through the dark night of the soul, for women or sensitive beings, it's heartbreaking. For males or more masculine beings, it's mind-breaking to go through the dark night, to have your life crash. Women, it's here. Oh my God, just heartbreaking. I'm overwhelmed. For men, it's like, how could this be happening? Like, it's mind-breaking. We thought we had it all figured out. See? So it's mind-breaking. There's a difference, no matter what gender you identify with. Okay? The point is, oh my God. And I remember, just please take me. Please take me now. I want to die. I just was over and over for several minutes begging to die because that's how you'll feel. So when I'm saying ending relationships and so on, I'm not standing here going, well, get over it. Don't ever tell a person to get over anything they're suffering with, by the way. Okay? Don't do that to people. And also don't hit them with the new age, well, it must have been your karma. You now have new karma for saying that. Listen to people. Feel for them. Hold their hand. Hold them. Be compassionate. Be present with them. Doing so means you're anchoring the presence of God right there with them in the darkest moments. That's amazing. In mythologies of every culture, in mythologies, you don't hear typically of a mortal making it to hell and back. It's a very rare thing. Why? Because hell takes you. To keep clear enough to go into hell, meaning to go into the dark night and bounce back, is supernatural. But it's not a hero in mythology, it's you. You're supposed to be able to do this. And you will. Try it on your own, you probably won't make it. Tether yourself to God, I'm going in. And you have all the power you need to hear other people's hell, to feel your own hell in the dark night. I'm totally feeling this. And the first time I'm saying, take me out of this, because nobody taught me. I was a kid and nobody taught me. I didn't know that there's any alternative other than I'm feeling nothing but pain. Then an awakening happens and you go, oh. Now, to go through it again, it's a bit easier because this too shall pass. When you're in it as a mortal, it looks like there's no end in sight. I'm going to suffer forever. This just doesn't end. Or it's just so intensely overwhelming. You want it to end now. Hang in there. Thank God that God said no when I said take me. God says, you say that now, but wait. Because if you make it through this, not only will you be so much clearer, you'll know what hell feels like when people come to you with problems. You see what I mean by that? Man, you've been there. You've been there. You know this is, wow, intense stuff. And you speak from experience. to close, just there's a concept, dark night of the soul. Before the dark night, this is also written in the book of Job. Job says to God, before I went through this, I thought I knew you. In other words, you think you have licensing, you think you have degrees, you think you're a good mom, whatever it is, all your labels. Before the dark night, you have all kinds of labels, which are also called masks. In the dark night, they're purged away, which is terrifying because it's what I thought I was. It's what I thought I knew. Married or a parent or a degree. But the dark night comes to you partly to purge all those, partly to strip you of those things. Well, that doesn't sound very loving. It is loving, because if you actually have a facade of things, your identity is made up of things, it's a good thing for you to get over that. Because after it's all purged away, now you have to answer this. Are you those things? Not did you have the certificates. Are you? Are you actually a healer, not just a licensed physician? There's a difference. Are you really a mother or just a parent? You just happen to have kids, so you're automatically a parent. Or are you a nurturer? You see, more divine spiritual wording for it. It's a presence, a healer. That's different. God bless anybody that's become a licensed professional of any kind. Foot reflexologist, surgeon, I don't care. God bless anybody that does healing work. But the world, as it's going through its own dark night and will continue, the world is going to purge your licensing, and it'll purge this world of titles and labels. One day, not too far off, you'll be called a healer or you won't be called a healer. It won't be, and I'm a specialist in this. It'll be whatever you need. All healers will get to a place of being able to provide whatever a person needs. It doesn't matter if they have to go to a foot or the brain. They're going to be understood to be because you love God, self, and others so much that you're saying, how can I be helpful? And the skills will download. They will. And that day's not too far off. Please take a few centering breaths. A few centering breaths, shifting consciousness to a quieter internal perspective. Be aware of any challenge that the Holy Spirit helps you bring up in your mind. It could be a current one, a recent one, could be an ongoing one. Just let Spirit help you bring something forward. A challenge, a fear. Look at the way it affects your mortal self. Take just a moment to look. Can you tell which organs tense when you think about it? Can you tell what parts of your body become tense or uncomfortable when you're thinking about this thing? Relax your muscles and see which ones were tensing more than usual. Breathe, drop your shoulders. Let your lungs expand your torso and see, God, I didn't even realize I was holding here or there. And instead of shaming yourself, just say to yourself, well, that makes sense that I would be tensing when I think about something like this. We're not giving it power. We're just saying it makes sense that you would feel that way. That makes sense. Now, we ask the Divine Mother Holy Spirit of God, to help us lift our consciousness for a moment in meditation, visualization. Everybody imagine that you're angelic like. Imagine that you're in a higher state of consciousness. Not mortal, not flesh, whatever higher one works for you. And look back at the same thing that caused you to tense and so forth. Look down upon the world. Look at those issues. But notice, stay light, and notice how it doesn't have the same effect. Keep your mind clear instead of engaged. Look at it with loving objectivity. The Buddhist concept might be that you learn to see it objectively. It has no power, and you're really nurturing the Buddha mind. Christ consciousness adds one more piece, and that is, ask the Divine Mother to help you. I know it's empowering to know how to do this on your own. It really does help you separate yourself from the dramas of the world and become a master, like Buddha was and became. But there's something that you gain even more with the humility of saying, I'm asking the Divine Mother to walk me through this. Both are beautiful, but one adds something. And it's not a codependence. It's healthy dependence upon the mind of God. If you do this and you're asking the Mother to hold you, fill your mind, and view your situation we did a minute ago, you might notice even greater peace, even greater centeredness. And we'll close with this. We're asking you, Divine Mother, when we come back into the world and into our bodies, is there any inspirations, insights you can give us, you can share with us, that would help us unravel this situation? You're not telling God to fix you. You're asking for insights on what you might do as next steps. Give yourselves just a half a minute to receive a download if something comes to you. Stay out of your thinking. Just see if something, it could be a feeling that comes to you, like peace, but it could be tangible little steps that you haven't tried. And we give thanks for this extraordinary experience. Father, Mother, God, take me from thinking as an I, me, mine. Take me from I to we, and from we to thee. I is my lower three centers, we is my heart, but thee, the presence of God, is the kingdom of heaven within us. And I give thanks that I'm learning every day more and more to surrender to the truth of God. And so it is. How's everyone feeling? Good, good. Anything you gained from the talk or meditation, or just from your experience being here for that matter, that you can share, that you feel is going to be helpful to you, insightful to you, or to other people in your lives? Anyone want to share how you're feeling? Yes?
Oh, the chaos I've created to get back to the silence, to get back to the other side.
All the chaos created, and you need to get back to the silence. And on the other side of the silence is the presence of God. That's why some people cannot meditate. it sounds like, well, I can't because my mind, and I can't because the kids are loud. You can't because you don't want to. I know it sounds weird for some. I don't care. You're afraid of the silence because on the other side is God. And there's a part of us called our ego that doesn't want the presence of God. See it, own that it makes sense, and let's go anyway. That's all. Don't judge, don't react to it. Just, oh, well, that, yeah, I get it. And let's go home. Yes.
Every aspect of what you said was beautiful. I enjoyed the laughter and also then the calm and the just taking in and relating to everything from the angelic presence to holding my thimble. So,
All these different pieces, the holding a thimble to asking for the presence of God and yet giving very little breadth for God to fill, just always limiting. And remember, I am that tip of that iceberg, the tip of that inverted pyramid, based on my limiting beliefs, which includes self-judgments. That's me that did that. We can't, well, genetically, I was only given a thimble. This is not even a real thimble. It's a metaphor. How could you, I was given a metaphor from my parents? That doesn't make sense. Anyone else? Yes.
That visualization practice to see yourself from a higher plane.
Seeing yourself from a higher plane.
There's chaos that I've witnessed from that perspective, and now I'm a bit more. I broke through a bit more of that cloud.
Yeah.
Now I know more.
Breaking through that veil, that cloud, and recognizing you can soar higher and get a different perspective. Yes, dear.
I like the licking the table therapy and all its implications. By you're really present, you can just really do the right zany thing.
Right. We're going to put that on our testimonials. I really appreciated Michael talking about licking a dirty table. And yes, you got it. That sometimes those zany, those spontaneous, those they're very different. Like pushing a car in a white outfit. I mean, don't do it if you can't afford it. If I were in the white outfit, the mud splashed me, and I couldn't handle it. Oh my God, how can I go in front of a group of people and the mud on me? If I was some prima donna, then I shouldn't be pushing the car. Learn to think, I don't care. Not in a bad way, just it doesn't have power over me. And sometimes it's funny to see the kinds of things that will be that manifestation of that statement. This doesn't have power over me. Sometimes it'll be some really out there kinds of things. I've shared this story one time on a flight. This gal, a few rows up and on the aisle, and I was on the outside aisle, started choking, and people are signaling to the flight attendant. The flight attendants, we stay in our seats. Everybody stay in your seats. Well, that's appropriate. But the person was choking and they're turning blue, and people are like, I had headphones on, which you're not supposed to have, but I had headphones on, and I'm already making and writing and reading and whatever. And then something in me, I'm just like, there's something in the vibes, and I'm looking to, what is it? Oh. Unbuckle, walk up, dig out of their throat, they cough something out. I just go back, sit down. And then I'm feeling like, and I look around and people are like, it didn't even occur to me. But what an odd thing. And people are like, don't upset this guy. Like, who knows what he'll do next? Tracheotomy or who knows, But that's my thing. You have yours. Go to what works for you. But it would help if most of us could act like a good parent, a nurse, whatever word fits to expound upon your thinking. You're just a little, I'm just a this or this. Wow, so much more waiting to be shown. And it helps people feel valued. One more.
Seeing the glory behind something, not with your dualistic eyes, so seeing God's perspective, which is miracle-mindedness, instead
Yeah.
of getting caught up in like the...
Seeing from God's mind. instead of getting caught up. And you will have days when you get caught up. It happens. Just reach out, hey, boy, can I share something with you? I'm going through this, and if you're the person ever approached, asked to be a listening ear, know yourself well enough to know whether you can handle this today. If you're already on edge, say to them, I would love to, but I'm already in a freak out mode. I got some really strange, be honest. That way they don't feel judged, rejected, or see a reaction in you. It'll bury stuff more for them. Handle it well. But when you ask, when you're going to share, ask somebody, would it be okay if I shared something? Ask, that's appropriate. Answer appropriately. Then we have less triggers going on. All right, thank you. We're going to do our love offering and our closing prayer. Just be as giving as possible, as generous as possible. And we want to give thanks. One person was extra generous over the last week or two, and there was extra, and they said, we want you to have this for something. And we were able to finally buy a new stereo, which will come in this week for the bookstore. It's been weeks and weeks we've been trying to deal with the music thing, because we like playing music in there. So it's seemingly a simple thing, but your generosity went towards that. And it's quite expensive to get even a smaller system, but it was really a good audio system, so we got that. So bless you guys. Your love offerings go in the bags, but your extra donations towards things like special projects or people we help out, those go in the baskets. Try to remember which one to put. And if you don't know, you can ask or just put it in anywhere, okay? It'll all be okay. Hold your love offering to your heart. Together we'll pray. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. While they pass those, it'll only take a minute. Then we'll, like I said, we'll do our closing prayer. Keep in mind, we have a healing room here that has the crystal bed in it. Extraordinary healing experiences, honestly, in that. So check that out. If you're from out of town, book it right away. You can have probably some of those done today. I don't know what the schedule's like, but register for those. And if you live in the area, get one, once in a while. They're 20-minute, 40-minute, 60-minute increments, depending on what you want. I want to thank the people. Last Sunday, we had a workshop called Our Search for God. It was very deep, a lot of people just really overwhelmingly loved it. It's one that I facilitated, but I'm glad and grateful we had so many people register online and in person here. And we have what's called the Enchanted Healing Room. It's a healing room related to our center. It's just a block over. We recommend it, whether you want massage, cranial sacral work, different forms of healing. We have some extraordinary, everything from items, healing frequencies from computers to sound healing to whatever. There's lots available there. And if you're visiting from out of town, always try to remember to schedule those kinds of things ahead of time. Whether you're in the room or online, please remember to get on our mailing list. Just go to our website, click on that button, get on our mailing list. It helps us tremendously, but it also helps you stay informed as to what's going on here at the center in terms of events and all that. And we have this Wednesday, as a circle in here if you're visiting or if you live here. It's online too. We have our healing circle, and that's where we sit together and talk about what's going on in our lives, in our clients' lives, whatever it happens to be. Healing techniques, how to deal with certain things, relationships. But it's sort of a rap group, healing group, kind of thing where we sit and talk. But it's also learning techniques for yourself and others, and sometimes sharing with each other those techniques. So it's kind of hard to describe because it's very warm and personal in a sense, but it's a nice circle that we get together in. 4:00 in the afternoon. Thank you. And last but not least, remember, Daughters of Heaven conference is now just about 4 or 5 weeks away. If you haven't gotten tickets, it's the best conference in the world. It's fantastic. There's a book you can get in the bookstore or online, Daughters of Heaven. There's also a website, and there's flyers in the foyer you can pick up. This is extraordinary. From the musicians, John Dumas and Ananda Das and so on. But we also have performers that are sharing, like Diamond Zion and Rebecca Abraxas, sharing more like a specific sound healing or bowls or harp. Fantastic. That's musicians and performers. And there's others beyond that. I'm just briefing over. But speakers, topics, the Essenes, the women of the Bible, the female disciples we'll be talking about, I think. Alan Cohen will be presenting live online for us. Michelle Phillips will be helping people do past life regression to find out where they have been connected to. The Daughters of Heaven, the highest form of light workers in history. And our next Sunday, like I said, is our mythology course again. We do it once a month, different culture. And the next one will be on Egyptian mythology. And it's going to be so cool. So join us for that workshop, for that ongoing course if you want. You can sign up and go watch the old ones. Okay? All right. Please stand. I think we covered everything. How are you feeling? Nice, isn't it? If nothing else, the model is we went from starting a day, we might have felt like that, and already, right? Already the breath, my understanding, my knowledge, I learned, I healed, I felt, I meditated. Take it and let that open. How much? 100%? Cool, if you did. If it only opened 5%, 1%, 2%, 8%, whatever, nice. As St. Francis said, less of me and more of thee. And I become greater in that. Can you feel that and know that? Can you own that?
Yeah.
Good. Take the owning of that. Without words, take the owning of that. And just turn to a couple of people, smile, and let them see that you're owning that. Nice. Let them feel. Repeat after me. So cool. So cool. It's like I'm a demigod. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Before you folks leave, sacred readers, come up and we'll have a quick meeting again right here for just a minute. And then the chaplains will be, we have a meeting today, right? Is that right? Volunteer Daughters of Heaven meeting in that back room over there. Otherwise, Jeff, our lead chaplain, the handsome man you see in the back over there, he's going to be leading a prayer circle if you'd like to help the prayers or receive. Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.